Alright, welcome to this complete army video. It's for the Eldar. I have done one some months ago with an Eldar list, and they struggled. It was a it was a controversial list for sure. A lot of people have been saying you need to scrap certain units, especially this one here, the Wraithknight. But I've stuck with the style and many of the units that I had in this controversial list, but I've enhanced it. I have dropped some models. And then I brought in some units, especially some key HQs, and I've expanded some units in size. And but it's still a shadow of what the previous list was. Some of the key units are still there, like the Wraithknight, for example. But I think it's an enhanced version. If you've seen the opening games, or the game on the Plus channel, which is free of charge to watch, is the second episode of Season 7, and that's Eldar versus Deathwatch. That's this list here, taking them on, and you can see how they got on in that video. Just check out the Plus channel. The video is free to watch, you don't have to sign up, and you can see them taking on the Deathwatch. Plenty of other armies to face, so big challenges ahead. Eldar used to be channel champions. I used to destroy every army in their path, but in 8th edition they've struggled, especially by a certain list build that I've gone for. But hopefully see what you think of this list here, and by all means compare it to the previous video, the previous edition of this completed army video for the Eldar, and then compare it to this list and see what you think. For a closer view of these units and more Tactica, I've done Tactica videos for the Wraithknight and for the Scorpions and other units, so check those out, those tactical videos for those specific units. But this video here is for the whole army together. I'll go for each of the units, talk about the whole army structure, the philosophy, the battle plan, how units are going to interact with each other, especially for Eldar, cover the psychic powers and why, points values, and then we'll stand back and take a look at the whole army to give you an idea of what it looks like set up. It's 2,000 points battle forged is the points limit here for this Eldar list. If you want a closer look at the units, then in the tactical videos I'll do that before I start going into tactics. I'll zoom in and I'll give you a good idea of how I painted the models. For painting tutorials, there is a regular painting tutorial for the Eldar on the channel here, and it's for this colour scheme. I'll show you how to paint one of the Wraith blades, but it's that colour scheme, and I've repeated the same colour scheme here on the Knights. If you like that colour scheme there with the turquoise colours, the metallics and the black armour and so on, there's a full tutorial for that, including the basing as well, how to do the basing. That tutorial's here in the painting tutorial section of the channel. So, Eldar, a tricky race, one of the top performing armies if you just go sort of the standard route that most people go down. I wanted to do something different, to have my own sort of personalised army, a unique style, and try and make units that have been made, not redundant, but units not as popular, and try and make them work. That's sort of the fun sort of challenge that I've had, and I've been chewing through this codex. It's the most meditated on codex out of all of them here, trying to get a list that works. So I'm going to build the army up. We'll bring these units in, starting with the HQs, and we'll build this army up, and then we'll stand back and take a look at the whole army. So I have a Battleforged army. It's got a battalion detachment and also a Supreme Command detachment in the list as well. So 9 command points available, which is pretty healthy. It's pretty good. That lets me use a good number of command points during the game for some key stratagems, which really does help this army out. I'll maybe go through the Supreme Command detachment first. It's the smaller detachment, a lot smaller, and it's sort of one of the foundational parts of this army. So yeah, that's Rules for Bone Singer. He's in the list. It's one of the new additions, and this is all my old lists here. Loads of them for the Eldar, which are all going to go on the scrap heap. We've got the latest list is ready to use here. So maybe go in the order here from the codex. Now, Eldar, my successful Eldar list is 7th edition. It was an army that could strike from anywhere, a lot of deep striking stuff, an army that used to avoid head-on contact. It was more deep striking units that could turn up all over the place. Flanking units I had, deep striking units, warp spiders for example, and used to just terrorise armies and catch them out. I'm trying to go down that same kind of route. That Eldar trickery is always a great thing. It infuriates the opponent, but that's the way the Eldar play, so you have to not make apologies. But the new unit I've gone for, and there's already a tactics video for him. And if you follow on Instagram, you'd have seen the pictures, and by all means encourage you to go on Instagram. It's a great visual feed to see what comes off the painting desk. But I have gone for Eldrad, that superb plastic model that came with the Death Mask set that Games Workshop released. It's a separate blister pack you can get now. I would say it's one of my favourite Eldar models. The sculpt on that model is incredible. It's a beautiful model, and check out the tactics video. I'll zoom in right in and show you how it's come out. But I was very happy with the paint job. But whoever sculpted the model, just incredible. Beautiful model for sure. So really good. So he's in. People were saying you need to get a Farseer, and I was looking at Farseers, and then I thought, well, I'll just pay a few extra points to get Eldrad, because Eldrad's excellent. And crucially, he can cast 3 psychic powers in a turn compared to a Farseer that can do 2. And that's very important, because I wanted to take 3. I didn't want to take another Farseer, so just one decent Farseer, Eldrad. He has been, because some of the units I've chosen in this list have been some of the weaker units that's been seen as they're weaker or too expensive, my army's taken a pretty good reduction thanks to chapter approved. So Eldrad is actually 135 points now. It was 150, so he's taken a points drop. Not going to do too much detail, but he's an excellent psyker. Not too bad in close combat. He's got 3+ invuln save, and then he has some help here. Spirit Link. Whenever you pass a psychic test for Eldrad, you can add 1 to the next psychic test you take for him till the end of the phase. So pass a test and it's +1 to the others. So just a better chance of making these powers go off. Really want to try and make these powers go off. Often I'll link that with a stratagem called Seer Council. It's only 1 command point. Use the stratagem in your psychic phase if a Craftworld Farseer unit is within 6 inches of a friendly Craftworld Warlock unit. I do take Warlocks in the list. You can have 1 to the results of any psychic test you take for the 2 units, so him and the Warlock, for the rest of that phase. So potentially he's looking at +2 to his psychic tests as he tries to manifest powers. It's really helpful. So it's needing a 7, all of a sudden needed 5, and it's much more likely to do that without having to use up precious command points with rerolls. Yeah, and Runes of the Farseer. Once in each psychic phase, you can reroll any number of the dice used for Eldrad, all for an attempt to manifest a nice psychic power, which is superb. And it also means you're avoiding using your command rerolls. You're not sapping command points because you're rolling 1s and having to reroll them and stuff. So, just a general, all-round, decent psyker. He's excellent. You can manifest 3 and deny 2. You know, smite and 3 powers from the Runes of Discipline. The powers that I go for, that I've chosen, and probably won't depart from, most likely, but may work experiment. I know Execution is a contender. It's pretty good, but the ones I've gone for is Guide, Doom, and Fortune. Guide, you choose one of your own units within 24. You don't have to see them. With Eldrad, it's reroll hit rolls for the ranged weapons. I've got some units that, like him, where I want the shots to hit, and so Guide's superb. Then Doom, you choose an enemy to target within 24. Reroll foul wound rolls against that target. So again, very useful. And then Fortune, this is to help him, the Wraithknight. You choose a Suriana unit within 24, so it's good range to, again, until your next psychic phase. Whenever that unit suffers a wound, roll d6, and a 5+, the wound is ignored. So 1/3 of the wounds come through against the Wraithknight can be ignored because of Fortune. I've been trying to build this list with some enhancements to try and help the Wraithknight. We'll come to him a bit later. He's one of the last entries, but just bear that in mind. You know, Fortune, I can get that on him, and needing a 7, but with some pluses there to try and help. Just protects him, tries to prevent those wounds from coming through. So instead of taking 10 wounds, you may only take 6. That's a big difference, just with some 5+, helping out. So, a nice solid choice. He's going to be the Warlord as well. This is Ulfway, by the way, obviously, this detachment. So I've gone for mixed detachments here. It's Ulfway, just a small psychic presence with Ulfway. Yeah, here. Fate Reader. If your army's battle-forged and your Warlord is on the battlefield, so you will start on the table, roll d6 at the start of each turn. Yours and your opponent's on a 6, you're going to command points. A couple of times in the game, you're going to get a couple of command points back, and that's been useful. So, happy enough with that. Then, moving along, to finish off this Supreme Command detachment, I take a Warlock. take 2 actually. Now I painted them up in my turquoise colour scheme. Yeah, I'm half tempted to paint them up as Ulfway just to match them in. It would look very cool, but there's 2 Warlocks here just to make up that Supreme Command attached. That gains me a command point and some more psychic buffs being granted to them. The powers that I give to those 2, you'll see it all makes sense as the units are brought in. They can benefit. Was Quicken. Yeah, I mean I've got 3 options from here. There's the spirits here to come, but we'll go for Quicken. So that's on this guy here. So Quicken and Restrain. Choose a friendly Assyrian infantry or biker unit. This is specifically thinking of the Shining Spears, but indeed it could be any unit I want to speed up, but not something like that. The unit can immediately move as if it was the movement phase. So thinking of Shining Spears, for example, 16-inch move, and then if that power goes off, 16-inch move. Terrifying. Or you've got Striker Scorpions, 7-inch move, 7-inch move, and get them into close combat. Something like that. So very, very powerful, that one. So I probably would, there'd be pressure to make that one go off. So I would want that power on one of these Warlocks to benefit from Seer Council, just to get that extra +1. Just needing a 6 instead of a 7 to make that go off, because that's one of the important ones. You know, you move your Shining Spears up, and then you want them to then be able to move again, not to get caught out if that power doesn't go ahead. So the other one is Conceal Reveal. So concealed, choose a friendly Assyrian infantry or bike unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Your opponent must subtract 1 from hit rolls to ranged weapons to target that unit. There's a reveal where you strip away cover, but that's the main one, conceal. So I would try and play that on the bikers before they move off with Quicken. So you load them up with these benefits and then play the Quicken and send them off. So -1 to hit the bikes. I think that's cool, because I know they're going to get targeted. So, or another unit, could be the Scorpions, but you are limited to bikers or infantry units. You can't play it on something big like the Wraithknight. But a little bit of an enhancement, a character that can sit at the back, hold objectives and so on. It's quite hard to snipe them unless the opponent has got snipers. Other units can't target. They've got to clear away the other units first. So, you know, and cheap enough, they're 55 points a time. Not too bad. So that completes that detachment. I'll just put that in there. I'll do the Wraithknight now, because he's a super heavy auxiliary detachment. We'll get him into the list whilst he's on camera here. We'll push him in. So here's the Wraithknight with the twin, or with the 2 heavy Wraith cannons for him. So, you know, I've used him in games. He's died. And people say, well, what's the point in taking him? He's a bullet magnet and he dies and doesn't do anything. So I've tried to keep him in the list because I think his firepower is deadly. You know, he's a tank killer with that firepower, and he's happy enough to stride into close combat when the time's right as well. And I think it's a superb unit. But the key is to try and keep him alive, especially on turn 1. Survive turn 1, and there's hope for him. Lose him in the early turns of the game, it is a blow. Because he's been one of the unpopular units, he's taken a serious points deduction, and now only paying 415 points for him with that loadout instead of 502 I think I was paying. So nice healthy points reduction for the Wraithknight, which is great news. The massive help for him will be taking a Autarch as the Craftworld. So if the opponent's over 12 inches away, it's -1 to the hit rolls against him. So you know, you've got your predators all lined up with their las cannons, need 3s, all of a sudden they need 4s, and that does help. It just knocks down the firepower. Guard tanks firing need 4s, all of a sudden need 5s. Just all that little kind of bonuses, you know, fortune, -1 to hit, just all takes away the chances of damage coming through against the Wraithknight. Because he's got 24 wounds, he's got loads of wounds. The heavy Wraith cannon's superb. Range 36, assault 2, so there's 4 shots from him, coming in at strength 16, -4 and d6 damage. It's brilliant weaponry, really is good. So I still rate the Wraithknight for sure, but the key is to keep him alive. I'll mention a stratagem at this stage here for him, just as whilst we're talking about protecting the Wraithknight. Here yeah, Phantasm. So if I deploy aggressive with him, I'll set it up in a certain way on the board. I then find out I'll not go first, I'm going to get caught out, and know the opponent's going to go after him. You can play Phantasm. You can pick up to, you start the first battle round before the first turn has begun, pick up to 3 Assyriana units from your army, so it can be him. You can immediately remove these units from the battlefield and set them up again, as described in the deployment section of the mission. So you can, he's right at the front, the opponent's going to go first, oh no, the Wraithknight's in trouble, Phantasm, pull him away and get him out of range, out of trouble as much as possible, and that could keep him alive, and then stride him back in later on. So there's that kind of idea to protect him. Also, you've got Tears of Isha, where you can restore D3 wounds on a Wraith construct model. That's 2 command points, and then I've got another enhancement to try and help him out as well later on. So that's that detachment there, a Autarch with the -1 to hit. So the last detachment, it needs to be quite big because there's not much, there's not much here at the moment, and that is a battalion detachment here to really bulk this army out. It will be a Autarch again. So all these units you're about to see over 12 inches away is -1 to the hit rolls. This is the way of trying to protect this Eldar army as much as possible. Just, I am going to get shot at, so just try and make them as hard to hit as possible is the plan, that's the idea. So, you know, frustrate the opponent. They have the heavy firepower, but they just can't hit the target. These perfidious Eldar are hard to target. So, I'm just going in order here. So I've taken an Autarch. There's this guy here, like so, with the wings and the power sword. Nice looking model. And what I've done is I've taken him from the index, because in the index I can then give him a Banshee mask, and that's free of charge. I then pay the points to give him the power sword, so that matches the model no problem. And then I bought a second set of Dark Reapers, and inside there I cut and cleaned up, took the hand here off the handle that's sculpted on, because it's the resin version here, and painted up this launcher from that set for the Exarch, and that'll fit just on the back here of this model, just tucked in like so, and that will represent him taking a Reaper launcher. So that's just slung over his back, that weapon just there. But I'll have to work that on, stick that on somehow. I don't want to permanently stick this to model, because I know Games Workshop no doubt are going to change the rules later on, so that you can't take the Reaper launcher. But for now, you do have access to the older code, the older index, and the Autarch in the index is allowed to take a Reaper launcher, so it's perfectly fine to do it. But a Reaper launcher for him. So it's an Autarch, a Reaper launcher, and Banshee mask, and power sword as well. But I want to somehow maybe just temporarily stick that onto him. I don't want to disfigure the model with only an upgrade that may not be allowed in the next, by the time they update the rules. So, but anyway, there he is. He's not going to be the Warlord, but this Autarch here is there to support my Dark Reapers with his Reaper launcher. He's going to 2s to hit with that and reroll 1s. And also the great thing about this Autarch is he's going to grant reroll 1s to hit, and there's going to be multiple units nearby. The Dark Reapers, for example, the Wraithknight may be nearby, the Rangers that I have for their sniper rifles, all of those units being granted reroll 1s to their hit rolls is going to be very, very useful. So he's there to fire his own Reaper launcher very accurately, but also to give that reroll 1s to a whole lot of other units that he's going to hang around with. So he's there to enhance other units that we'll see brought in a bit later on. The other option, which I may go down this route, and that's to drop him and just expand the size of my Dark Reaper unit. They're at 5 at the moment. I could go bigger if I drop him entirely, but difficult choice. I maybe would like the look of a larger Dark Reaper unit, but then concede losing that rerolling 1s for potentially a whole lot of other units. So difficult choices to make, but he's in for now, and I'm quite happy. He's all right. It's not too bad, and the granting the reroll 1s has been very useful so far. So that's the Autarch. Yeah, so the next one is the Avatar. I've kept him in the list, and again, this is one of the main units that people said you need to get rid of him. You know, he's no good, he's a waste, and so on. But I'm determined to try and make him work, especially after having bought the, the Forge World model, which is utterly amazing. It's an incredible model. So good. It's you know, it's a great one to add to the Eldar collection. Superbly sculpted. The face, the sculpture on the face is amazing. and really happy with how this model's come out. So yeah, it's twice the size of the lead one that Games Workshop produced, so it's a proper scout avatar. I rate him. I think he's good. Because he's not as popular or not as good, Games Workshop reduced the points. 250 points is now down to 220, so pretty good points reduction. The great thing about him is he's a character, so even on his last wound, he's going to fight at full potential, which is superb. And then Strength 6, Toughness 6 is 8 wounds to try and get through. He's got a 5+ invuln save. He ignores wounds on a 5+, and in close combat, he can fire 12 inches with Strength 8 -4. It's a melter weapon, and in close combat, he's got a melter weapon with 5 attacks hitting on 2s, fighting at Strength 8 -4 and D6 damage. Now he's a killer in close combat. So, Kane Awaken, friendly Assyrian units within 12. Do not take morale tests. You can reroll failed charge rolls for these units. Superb. Really, really good. So, he's excellent. He's even got battle focus here. So he can fire his Assault 1 Wailing Doom at normal ballistic skill. He's excellent. So the idea of him is other units are going to move up, and then he moves up as a character behind the advance. So he's coming up behind. The opponent can't target him unless he's got sniper weapons. It's quite rare. And then he's able to move up, protected by the screen, and then unleash him into the heart of the opponent's force. And he'll happily charge into anything. Characters, vehicles, infantry. He's a all-rounder for taking on anybody. So, excellent. A couple of enhancements for him. If you know the answer to this, actually, because I'm not sure about this one. Can the avatar of Cain take relics? Is the question. I'm half tempted to give him the Phoenix Gem. First time this model is slain, so say he's in the heart of the opponent's deployment zone, he's plunged into close combat. Roll d6 for each unit, friend or foe within 3 inches. On 2 or more, that unit takes d3 mortal wounds. If at least 1 mortal wound is inflicted as a result of this, you don't even need to slay the model. Just cause a mortal wound. Then this model is not slain but remains in play with a single wound remaining. Yes, I love the idea of that. But can the avatar take that? Is he a named character? Is the question. I'm checking. It says character. Yeah, it says avatar of Cain. I've got a sneaking suspicion he can't. I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. But anyway, he's in. The advantage for him is I can protect him. I can surround him by stuff, and then there's that shield there that he can move up the table, and he can use it quite aggressively. And he can also be like a throwaway unit where I charge him in, and your opponent has to deal with him. He's sitting there. You can't leave him wandering around your deployment zone, you know, if he's plunged into the heart of the army, and he can prove a distraction that the opponent's diverted a lot of attention to try and get rid of him whilst my other units are not being attacked. So that's another way to use the avatar of Cain. So there is now a Spirit Seer to add in. So it's another Psyker. So it's the third one from this Warlock set, but the one with the big spear here, I'm just going to use him as a Spirit Seer. So he's in to add some more psychic enhancement, and that will be Protect and Jinx for the next power. So both of these powers, I really rate them. Protect, then choose a friendly Assyriani infantry or biker unit. Specifically would be the Shining Spears. Add 1 to the saving throws made for that unit to your next psychic phase. So Shining Spears will go from a 3-up save to a 2-up save, and a 4+ invuln save for ranged weapons all the way up to a 3-up. It's a massive enhancement. It's a crazy power, that one. So helpful. Or Jinx. Choose an enemy unit within 18. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all saving throws made for that unit to your next psychic phase. Particularly useful against units like Gilliman and others to strip down their armour save, or indeed their invuln save, with that cheeky power. So another very useful, excellent power here. Now you notice I've got a lot of psychic power in this list, and so what I have been doing is making sort of bigger units so that the psychic power is more worthwhile taking. You know, you're casting a power on a unit of 9 instead of a unit of 5, just becomes a better investment. So especially the Shining Spears you see there, a bigger unit. That's the Spirit Seer. Then, so I've made up the HQs, 1, 2, 3 HQs, that makes up the battalion, no problem, you have to take 2 at least. And then for troops, I've taken Rangers now, kept those in the list. And yeah, they're to fill out the space and to get the command points, but they're useful enough. Now I had 10 of these in lead, I've since then had to add another 5 in fine cast. That's a fine cast one just there, and just painted them up to match here, but they were quite quick to paint, didn't take too long. I think they look very cool. The Rangers, they look good, so we'll just move these all in. That starts to bulk the army out pretty good. So you go just that. So that fulfills the battalion now, so it unlocks that 5 command points. Now remember, these Rangers, they are Autarch, so -1/12 inches away, and they've also got chameleon cloaks. Your opponent must subtract 1 from hit rolls for ranged weapons that target this unit. In addition, you add 2 to saving throws made for this model in cover as well. So 5+ armor save becomes 3+ if I can get them nicely into a ruin or a building of some kind. That's great, so 3 up save, and then -2 to the hit rolls. That's going to mess up the shooting for a lot of factions that are out there. You know, Space Marines 3+ become 5+ to hit. Guardsmen hitting on 6s instead of 4+. That's a great help. Often, because the opponent's got other stuff to try and pick on, these get ignored, and they've had some pretty good rounds of shooting from them. You know, with their sniper rifles, I'm able to sort of pick on enemy characters and disrupt the opponent's formation with these, or even just try and get 6s to win against vehicles and cause some mortal wounds, pick off wounds here and there with those. And if the Autarch's nearby, you know, you're on 3s to hit rerolling 1s. That's pretty accurate firepower, as long as they don't move. So that's them. Then the auto include unit. There is no option here, no negotiation for these, and that is striking scorpions. So they're in the list. So it's unit 10. I've left out one of my HQs. I'll cover them in just a moment. Some of you are wondering where the Autarch on the jetbike's gone. The Skyrunner, he's in the list. I'll cover him in just a moment here. But 10 striking scorpions. Again, that bulks the army out a bit here. This is not going to be the bulkiest of armies, just because of some of the bigger units I have. But the scorpions are in at full strength. They took a points reduction as well. So 119 points now for a good sized unit. Ariel Doomhand there with the Scorpion's Claw. I've been using these more as a bodyguard, so you'll see these surrounding the characters just to prevent deep strikers and so on from, when they land, they've got to try and get through the Scorpions first, trying to protect my characters for as long as possible. So often on duty, just as protection, you know, heavy aspect armor helps out, get them into cover, 2 up save. If the opponent gets too close, you've got a counterpunch unit here, something that can fight in close combat. So you'll find the Scorpions doing that a bit more, or they can strike from the shadows. It's called Masters of Stealth ability here, but they're pretty good. In close combat, they're not bad. They are decent enough, and they're a bargain at 119 points. So really glad to have them in the list for sure. And they're a useful unit to have. And if you want to see more on them, check out the Tactica video that's already on the channel here for them. But I love the models. Favourite Eldar unit for sure. Autarch Skyrunner. Very important unit here. One of the very successful units in this Eldar list. So Autarch Skyrunner, there he is. Here it's the older jet bike with the lead extras sculpted there on. So just tuck him in like so. Again, he joins the battalion, so it's a Autarch. So -1 to hit rolls against him if he does become the target of an attack. Movement 16, so, you know, he'll go as fast as the Shining Spears. It's the Autarch here, so you're getting the reroll 1s. That's for shooting and for close combat, so it's a great enhancement. Mostly for the Shining Spears. If he does need to relocate and help out with some reroll 1s, he can move around very fast. I go for the Laser Lance on him, so that's the range 6 assault 1, strength 6 -4 2 damage, brilliant weapon. And in close combat, strength 6 on the charge, -4 2 damage. Terrifying, really, really good. And 4+ in 1 save for him as well. 6 wounds, loads of wounds, so decent enough. I do give him a relic, which is the Shimmer Plume of Achilriel here, which is Autarch only, which is him. -1 for all hit rolls that target this model, so that's going to be stacked on top of a Autarch, and it also includes close combat, so when someone tries to fight him in close combat, it's -1 to the hit rolls, which is very, very useful. So I love adding that onto him. So, one other thing. I give him a Banshee mask. Yes, So he takes a Banshee Mask, which you can take from the index, and Banshee Mask basically no Overwatch allowed. So this Autarch here and this Autarch here on the jetbike, I charge into something and then there's no Overwatch allowed, and he can charge him first and then other units can follow along and they don't have to worry about, as long as he makes it into combat, the others don't have to worry about being shot at for Overwatch. It's an exceptionally useful unit, this one here. I can charge into a Baneblade or a Leman Russ or whatever it is and just no worries about Overwatch. Incredibly powerful. So Autarch Skyrunner is in. That was, you know, regardless of the results this list had, that he was one of the more successful units in the different games. So I'll cover an elite's choice here because it's not in the codex, and that's Bone Singer. Here I managed to track him down in lead on eBay and I painted up in that colour scheme. So there he is. Got an obscure strange unit, this one. He's not in this codex here, so you have to get the rules sort of in the pack, the blister pack, if you get a new, you know, sealed pack. So here he is, Bone Singer. And we'll look him up here in English language. Here he is. So he's got 4 wounds. The weapon here, the Cyclone Shaper, Strength User, AP 0, D3 damage. You know, you're not going to expect much here. He's 70 points, including all the war gear. 4+ Invuln save. You can attempt to manifest Smite, or use his Path of the Shaper. So you choose, are you going to use Path of the Shaper, and then if you can't, or there's no unit available, then you can just use, you've got regular Smite available. So the bare minimum, he could be an objective holding character that can smite stuff. But the main reason to take him is this Path of the Shaper. In your psychic phase, this model can re-knit Wraithbone instead of attempting to manifest any psychic powers. If it does so, select a single Craftworld vehicle or Wraith construct model within 3 inches. He needs to keep up with him. This model regains D3 lost wounds. It can only be healed by this ability once per turn. So the idea is that he hangs around the Wraithknight. Some have said you can give him the relic here, which would be useful for Lochu's Wing, which will give him wings. He'll get 12 inches move. I can pay up for that extra relic. But I'm thinking he should be alright. He's got movement 7. And then I just advance him. So he's going to go 8 minimum. On average, he's going to go about 10 or 11. So he should keep up the Wraithknight, no problem at all. So, you know, that'll save me a relic, save me a command point, get an extra relic or a relic, another relic I can give to someone else. So he probably won't need the wings, most likely. It's quite rare the Wraithknight's just going straight full 12 inches. It's more of a cautious play from him, usually in games. But his whole job is just to hang around with the Wraithknight, anticipating the damage is going to come through. The Wraithknight survives, that's the key, and then he starts his work of just every turn, D3 wounds, just bringing the Wraithknight back up to strength. And the idea is that the opponent has that weight of firepower on turn 1. It's reduced slightly on turn 2, or he's got other stuff to deal with, like the Shining Spears, and then it just tips around. The opponent's got less and less firepower, and then the Wraithknight survives, and then starts to get repaired, and then he just becomes more and more powerful, and then survives the game, and then tips the game in his favour. And then towards the end of the game, the Wraithknight back up to like 15, 17, 18 wounds, and, you know, functioning at full capacity because of the work that he's done. Instead of hobbling about on 3 wounds left or something, there's ways that I can heal him up. So I think I played one of the games, the recent game with him, and he restored about 10 wounds in total. Now that's useful. So he's in 70 points as an elite's choice, and he just tucks in just there. So a lot of characters here to enhance the units that I have. Trying to give the Wraithknight the best chance possible. So a bit harder to hit, chance to relocate him, abilities to repair as well, and a bit of fortune as well from the Farseer. All of that combination together should make for a more survivable. You know, there's 24 wounds there. It's a lot for the opponent to try and get through and to destroy. So, yeah, I'll cover the. I'll skip fast attack. I'll actually go straight to the heavy support here and cover the Dark Reapers. Here they are, 180 points for 5. They are expensive for sure, but they're useful for definite. So just tuck them in like so. So 5 of them. Half tempted to drop that Autarch and take 8 of them, if possible. It may mean I have to drop a Scorpion perhaps to squeeze them in to get for the points wise. I have the models to do it, but 8 of them does look very cool, but it would be a very expensive unit for sure, so I need to be careful with them. So, expensive enough, the Dark Reapers, but they're £5 good, and they have some good special rules as well. I'm going to play them on foot. I know people say you need to take Wave Serpents. I've avoided Wave Serpents just to save points for all the units that I've wanted here in this list. So try and play these quite subtly, because I know the opponent again is going to try and target them if they can. They're just a free up save, so I do need to be careful with the Dark Reapers. So the Reaper launcher, all of them I've taken. Range 48, excellent range. So it should sit nicely out of range of a lot of small arms fire, you know, bolters and las guns and so on. So you can fire a heavy one. Strength 8 is only -2, but it's 3 damage, so it's really good. Or you go for Star Swarm Missile, which half the time I do use to try and clear infantry out of the way. And that's heavy 2, so unit 5 is going to get 10 shots. Strength 5 -2 and 2 damage. Excellent against things like Primaris Marines. The great thing about these is inescapable accuracy. This one always hits target on a 3+ in a shooting phase, regardless of any modifiers. That's great. You might get some clever stuff going on with some minuses to hit. These just hit on 3+, and again, if they move, it's still going to be 3+ to hit. So that makes Dark Reapers very reliable with their firepower for sure. I'll try and play them wisely. If I'm afraid that I'm going to get blown away on turn 1, then I'll simply play Webway Strike with these here. Just pay a command point, keep them off the table, and just deep strike them in. Now keep them out of trouble at least. And the other stratagem I like to play is Fire and Fade. So you hide them behind something like this. Then in the opponent's over here. Then in the movement phase you move up on top to fire. Say the whole unit's up there. You do your firing and then play Fire and Fade. Use your stratagem after a friendly Assyrian unit shoots in your shooting phase. If you do so, the unit can immediately move 7 as if it was the movement phase. So you do your firing, and then for 1 command point, you just disappear again. Like so. And infuriate the opponent by shooting and then disappearing again. So that's a great stratagem. It's only 1 command point to do it. So that's another way I'm going to try and keep these alive. Just keep them out of sight and out of trouble. And sit them in a crater or a ruin. And even if mortars do try and hit them, you know, you've got 2 up save, and they're a Autarch, so -1 to the hit rolls. So you know, stick them, try and protect them, stick them inside a ruin or a crater, 2 up save to protect them, and then remember they're a Autarch, so it's -1 to the hit rolls against them as well. And then even if I am really worried the opponent's going to target them heavily, I'll just put Conceal on them, and that will give a further -1 to the hit rolls as well. And if I'm desperately trying to protect them, I can play lightning fast reactions on them, and a further -1 to hit rolls as well. So some clever use of stratagems and some psychic benefits and Craftworld traits. I know I'm going to get shot at, trying to protect and make them as hard to hit as possible. So that applies to all of these units here. So that's those. So there's one more unit to add into this list, and I need to create a bit of space here for them. Just push these scorpions away to the back, and we'll pull these over to here, and that is the Shining Spears. So I've been working, it's taken a good while to paint, but I've been working on an expanded unit. I had been using a unit of 5, and this is a unit that I tried to use in 7th edition and just struggled, and they were in and out of lists a number of times, but now in 8th edition Shining Spears are excellent. But Unit 5, I saw the potential, but they were just getting cut down and not effective. You start to take a couple of casualties, and Unit 5 wasn't so effective. So I have bumped them up to the unit of 9. So they're quite impressive at that size. You see the boost this Eldar army takes when you add these guys in. A total now, with chapter approved, I think they are slightly more expensive than what they were. They're now 308 points for all 9 of them. But this is the unit. This is the hinge unit here, the shock unit for this Eldar list, as well as the Wraithknights. Those 2 primarily, and then the secondary units would be the Dark Reapers, the Avatar, and the Scorpions, but the two primary units would be this Wraithknight and these guys. These are the ones that need to dish out the damage and cause trouble and to do well. And if they do well in the game and survive and cause casualties, then it should go well for the Eldar. So that's them. Again, it's a Autarch, part of this battalion detachment, so if they're over 12 inches away, it's -1 to hit these immediately, whatever happens. So I'll just track back to fast attack here, to showing spears. So the great thing about these, 3-up save, so immediately got a brilliant save, 2 wounds on them as well, toughness 4, they're superbly quick, 16-inch move, these are very fast across the board, and their firepower is excellent. The laser lance, we've covered that already, strength 6, -4, 2 damage. There's 9 shots in there. The Autarch nearby or a bit of guide to help them out. Very accurate firepower indeed. And the great thing about these is they have that laser lance, also the twin shuriken catapults here as well. 4 shots each. That's 36 shots coming from this unit in total. 36 shots being dished out, and that's a bit of horde clearance I can do. 12-inch range firepower. Coming in at strength 4. Any 6s to wounds, AP -3, so they can shred through even some of the tougher sort of marine type units with that kind of firepower. So really good. The Autarch here, the Exarch, 3 attacks for him. He's got 3 wounds as well, which is really, really good. And he has the Star Lance, which is strength 8 for shooting, and in close combat strength 8 as well. When these guys charge in, they're all on 2 attacks each. So you've got 16 attacks there, plus 3 for him, coming in at strength 8 as well. Now you couple that up with a bit of reroll 1s in close combat, and Doom especially, they'll take out virtually any vehicle with their lances. And the idea is for these to blast 1 unit of firepower, charge into another unit and delete 2 units, rip out a chunk of the opponent's force with the shock of their charge. I know they're going to get shot at, so that's why I've made them a Autarch, to try and help them out. I can then play Conceal on them and give them another -1, so that's -2 to the hit rolls against them. And then, I've mentioned it already, lightning fast reactions, 2 command points, a friendly or surrounding unit with the fly keyword, or an infantry unit, that's those bikers. If they're shot at, it's -1 to the hit rolls. So I potentially could put -3 onto those to hit. And that will mean that some units will not even be allowed to shoot at them. Crazy. So, a Predator with his laser cannons would need 3s, all of a sudden may need 6s for hits. And if these have Protect, they're going to be boasting a 3+ invuln save for shooting as well. You could even put Fortune on them as well to try and help with wounds coming through. But so you see, I could take a unit that's okay as 5, make them scary with making them 9, and then make them crazy good with some psychic enhancements coming in to help them out. So make them very hard to hit, and then high impact when they strike the target. And potentially they can move ridiculous speed around the board. If they really need to move fast, they can go 16, and it's auto 6 inches with Ride the Wind here. Yeah. So I rate them. I use them. You'll see them being used in the Eldar versus Deathwatch game, and then I've used them in some recent games as well. They did very well, so hopefully they'll be the shock unit for this Eldar force. So yes, they'll be on the table instead of sort of ambushing and deep striking, but they'll be there, but they'll be hard to hit. That's the idea, and they just survive. And yes, I'll take some casualties, but look, Unit 7 still dangerous, Unit 6 still dangerous, Unit of 5 still dangerous. That's the point of taking 9 of them, is just to keep them deadly even with the casualties coming in. If I had, for example, if I was back to my original Unit of 5 and I took 3 casualties, now the unit's not worth much at all, no impact. But if I make them 9, expecting casualties to come in, the opponent's got a lot of work to try and reduce those down to where they're not much of a threat. So I think I've called them the 9 because they could spell doom for many a unit on the board. So the idea of this Eldar army is to sort of strike hard, strike first, and then just knock the opponent off his balance quickly, and then start a process of breaking through and on towards victory. That's the idea. Now, the key is to keep them alive, and to keep him alive, and the Eldar army should do well. Alright, so that's the list. All we'll do now is I'm going to zoom out and I'll line this army up so you get the whole idea of how it looks. You can see most of it on the board here. I'm just going to rearrange it and focus in on this army. Alright, so there it is. This is the Eldar list. So you can see the small detachment there. That's the all-way detachment of Eldrad and the 2 Warlocks. Then the Wraithknight here, a Autarch, so -1 to hit him. And then the battalion here. So the troops, 1, 2, 3 Rangers. Difficult to hit, -2 to hit them if you're 12 inches away. The elites and the Scorpions, -1 to hit them. Decent heavy aspect armor for those. The Spirit Seer there with his powers, or the power that he has. Bone Singer to help out the Wraithknight. Bit of long range fire support there from the Dark Reapers, and we talked about how to protect them and to use them in a sort of a cunning way. The Autarch here, his Reaper launcher, or indeed I could swap him out and put 3 more Dark Reapers into that unit. It's just an option. The Avatar then to advance in and disrupt, to follow up behind this sort of shock attack here. And then the tip of the spear, which is the Shining Spear, is the pivotal unit for this Eldar list, with the Autarch here on the jetbike to help out. But that's the shock troops there. They can clear away hordes with their superb firepower and then charge into close combat and cause trouble. And with some psychic enhancements to protect them, to speed them up, and to make them more efficient with their shooting and also in close combat, just to make them a very potent unit indeed. It is one of the, I don't know, I would say small. If it's a small army as such, it's certainly not a horde-based army, but yeah, it'd be elite enough. There's some cheap elements to it, but there's some very elite units, or some very costly units here. 415 points here, 300 points here. That's where the investment's been put in. Whether this investment will pay off, we'll have to see in future games. They've had a good start. Wondering how well they'll do against armies like the Astra Militarum and the Ultramarines as well, along with armies like the Orcs. I wonder how well they'll cope against the Orcs. But keep a look out for these in future battle reports. But leave your own comments and feedback. Do you think this list is going to do well? If yes, then say why. If not, then offer your own suggestions, what units you drop. Is this an improvement on the previous list? Make your predictions about the future as well. Any enhancements and changes, then by all means leave that in the comments section. But this is the controversial list here for the Eldar. I hope they do well, but we'll see what is in store in the future. It's been a good start for them, but it'll be a real test as they take on the different factions that are on the channel here, and indeed some of the challenge games as well. But there it is. That's 2,000 points of Craftworld Eldar, with a mixture of Craftworlds being used. Quite a unique list here. Will it work is the question. I'm excited to use them. They are good fun to use, but hopefully they'll achieve some victories, and you never know, they could be kings of the channel champions once again in the future. But there it is. Keep a look out for more complete army videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.